You accept the sin? No. You hate the sin. Well, all right, let's look at this recipe, because this recipe is very important. We're heading towards a disaster maybe, and you see it time and time again on the TV sets and so forth. And I don't know about you, whenever I see a lot of things that's taking place on that TV set today, it frightens me. It really does, because of everything that's been taking place. Okay, well, anyway, the recipe is this. Number one, first of all, we, the people of God, are the solution to the problem. Now you say, wait a second, Jay, that can't be, because how can that be? We're not really involved in a lot of that kind of stuff. Well, we are the solution to the problem, because God says, if my people, right? He doesn't say if the people that are doing wrong humble themselves and pray. He says, if my people who are called by my name, you see, possessive pronouns are there. He's talking about you, and he's talking about me, and he's talking about those Israelites back in those days, the righteous ones who were willing to pray, the ones who will humble themselves and pray. And there you got the next step. The next recipe, you see, the next part of the recipe, the next thing that needs to be done so that you can bring about blessing, or so that the world in which we live can change to the better. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. Humble yourselves and pray. You know, we're not humble people. We don't like to be humble. Do you like to be humble? It's hard to eat humble pie sometimes. It is. We like to be up front with everything, right? We like to be the person that's in the position of authority. We like to be the one who's able to, everybody's looking at and saying, wow, look at them, look at him. That's not humbleness, you see. But Jesus says, you got to be humble. And when you're humble, then I'll pay attention to you. What is humility? Well, Jesus gives us an illustration of that. You remember the story that he's talking about in the New Testament, where he says there's two people that came to pray. One of them was a Pharisee, and the other one was a tax collector or sinner. And the Pharisee came in, and he looked at the tax collector there kneeling and praying, and he said, God, I'm so thankful that I am not like him. I go out and I do the sacrifices, and I pray every day, and I fast, and I do all these things, but I'm glad that I'm not like him. And of course, Jesus said, the other person said, what? And he said, couldn't even look up to heaven, but he was there kneeling, and he said, Father, forgive me. I'm a sinner. That's humbleness. Will humble themselves and pray and seek my face. Seek my face. Have you ever talked to somebody who you don't think are getting through to them? You're talking to them and they're going, and you wonder, what are they looking at? They're not listening to what I'm have to say. Maybe your kids or whatever, you might be able to think about that. But when you say, finally, you say, wait, stop, look at me, eye to eye, right? Eyeball to eyeball, and I want you to pay attention to what it is that I'm saying. Seek my face has that idea to it. And how do you seek the face of God? Well, you seek the face of God in two ways. First of all, you make sure that you have a connection with him as far as who he is. Sometimes when we pray, we get down, we start to pray, and we don't really have a mental picture of who it is that we're talking to. I like to pray. When I pray, I like to seek the face of God. And one of the ways that I seek the face of God is I picture God. His love endures forever. You see, they sought his face then because he was face to face. If Jesus were to return right now, how would you respond? If you had a face-to-face encounter with him, would you say, Jesus, how long? It's been a long time. Why did it take you so long to come back? Or would you bow down and have your face toward the ground and say, woe is me, I am undone? If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face. Seek my face has another aspect to it, and that is one of continually praying. You see, it's not a once and a done thing. Sometimes we think if I say something to God once and I ask him for it, and if I ask him to take and help my country, if I ask him to help my denomination, if I ask him to help my world in which I live, that I only have to do it once because he's got a notepad down there and he's got it all written down, and he'll eventually get to it. No, that's not what this means. This means continually praying and seeking God and asking him. How do I know? Well, Jesus gives another illustration in the story that he tells. He said, suppose you have a friend, and you have company that comes to you, but you have no bread. And you go to your friend and you say, hey, it's late at night. And you go to say, I need some bread for my friends that have come to visit with me. And your friend says, no, I'm not going to get out of my bed. It's nice and warm. I'm not getting out of bed and getting you bread. It's not going to happen. But what does Jesus say? That the person goes away and that's the end of it? No, he says he continues on supplicating and saying, I need bread, I need bread, I need bread, I need bread, and keeps on going and going and going. And Jesus ends that story by saying, there's times when we sin. And what's being shared here is that when we start to pray, have your house in order. Because why? Well, God doesn't want to hear you if you have sin in your life unless you've dealt with the sin. That's what he's talking about here, right? The first thing he wants to hear from you and me is dealing with the sin that's in our lives, because that's all he wants to hear. From a sinner, he wants to hear, forgive me. That's what he's talking about here, because he gives credence to what it is you're trying to share and say. And that's important, very important. And you can say, pray, and I pray like this way lots of times, and I hope that you do too. And I just say, Lord, I'm here, and I'm praying, and I know I'm not worthy to pray. But as I pray, I want you to know that if there's anything that I've done that's wrong, please forgive me. And then I go on and supplicate and petition to the Lord about the things that I need to have petitioned. So if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, you see, the prayers of a righteous man availeth what? Much. Okay. If you follow my path and my ways, then I will bless you so richly that you will not have to borrow anything from anybody, and everybody will be able to borrow from you. That's what he said to the Israelite people, and to you and me. But then he went on and said the opposite. But if you don't follow my ways, and I have to punish you, in other words, then I will make you borrow from anyone and everyone. What's our national debt now? $40-some trillion. Anyway, again, I love my country. I'm not